Pacoima to Burbank, not too far of a distance there.
Yeah.
So it was a short pursuit, and they eventually did stop the car, which is interesting. And I'm wondering, Susie, if it's just because the car might be damaged in some way, or maybe they just can't move. But very interesting scene playing out right here.
Yeah, no kidding. We usually see when, the officers are calling out the orders after a pursuit comes to an end. We're seeing, the driver, first of all, then get the driver, them to, drop the keys, come out, with the door open and whatnot, and do all these, things. But it looks like two people are hanging out of the windows we were talking about right now. That person normally would be waiting by, instruction of the officers to stay in the passenger seat and not make any movements until told to do so. But one thing we know for sure is that even though this person is gesturing for officers to come towards them, they don't call the shots in this case. And the LAPD will stay here as long as they need to put this to a safe end, obviously. But right now with guns drawn, it doesn't look like it's going to be the situation anytime soon.
Yeah, and the back window Desmond was showing us there already with 2 holes in it. So most likely they did already deploy some of those less than lethal weapons, perhaps pepper balls or some of those what do you call it, bean bags, just to break out that back window.
And they would do that after they tell them, get out of the car, throw the keys out of the car.
Them to get out. Normally they don't want to do something like this. And plus, look at that, the back window is also tinted, which makes it very difficult for officers to look inside the car. But this communication back and forth between LAPD and a pursuit suspect and a passenger who was in the car continue here with both the pursuit suspect and the passenger sticking their head out the window, doing quite a bit of gesturing.
Yeah, both visibly talking to officers, right?
Yeah. It looks like they're doing that. Desmond, any movement on officers' part there, or are we just on this continual back and forth right now?
Yeah, no, we'll just widen out and show you, but no, not really any movement. I mean, maybe back here behind the scenes, they may be trying to get some shields ready or something like that. But I just wish I knew what the male suspect was holding. Something looks like it's red. It might just be a pen or maybe a vape pen, something like that. That's kind of what it looked like to me. Whatever he's holding there in the right, yeah, that might even just be a cell phone. Yeah, you're right. Now it looks like she's holding it up. And, regardless of what it is, you could bet that the police are just asking them to drop it. And, one of the reasons why we might have seen this kind of sudden aggression from LAPD as far as shooting beanbags in the windows, the fact that they didn't hesitate, probably because they had one of their police cars allegedly rammed into by the suspect. Whenever something like that happens, we tend to see the more aggressive tactics. So I'm just really curious to see if they're going to use anything else here to really force these people to come out. The K-9's definitely an option as well, but they have no idea if this person has any other weapons in there, just because they may have thrown that gun out the window not too long ago doesn't mean that there are not, other guns or knives inside the vehicle.
Yeah, my guess is, too, maybe they're using that cell phone to record what's happening to see if officers are going to be doing anything else. So they're trying to document what's happening to them as well. But a lot of hand movement, a lot of talking, a lot of discussing, but not a lot of action on the part of this driver and their passenger there. Wanted for,
a hostile man with a gun.
A hostile man with a gun, which of course very dangerous. And as we mentioned earlier, good news is hopefully that gun was thrown out of the car, but officers are definitely going to be looking for that. But as Desmond was saying, Susie, no word if there's another weapon.
If that's the case, exactly. We have no idea, and they're going to take all the precautions that they can to protect, obviously, the community and the officers. Obviously, this is called a high-risk stop. At first, the officer, will start, when they first stop, will start yelling the orders. Hopefully, as we were talking about, Juan, they come out under those conditions, come towards the officers, and you do that for everybody in the car. And not every car, by the way, as Desmond was talking about, not every car has a ballistic shield, so they might be waiting for that ballistic shield to actually go and approach the car if that is going to be their mode of operation. But it's unclear right now exactly what they're going to be doing, but we know for sure that they are taking every precaution. They're not going to approach this car without knowing that it's actually safe to do so.
Yeah, and look at that, Susie. The woman in this case does have her arm wrapped around the driver's neck, just holding on to him. She's also showing officers her hands, and he's also gesturing as well. So it's just very, very bizarre here. We saw those cans, whether or not they came out of the car or not, those also dropped out. And just this conversation here between officers and a pursuit suspect and their passenger continues in the Sun Valley area. A pursuit that started not too far away in the Pacoima area, right? In the Pacoima area. And here we are. Apparently, what we're being told is that they used their car as a weapon, right, to possibly hit an officer or an officer's car, and that's when the pursuit started. And here we are at a standoff, and quite a bit of officers, too, standing there at the ready. And what I find so interesting, again, Susie, I'll mention it one more time, is just how close the officers are. I mean, not even a car's length. Look at the back bumper of the suspect's car and the front bumper of the police officer's car. I mean, not far enough, not far at all away.
Absolutely, but a very delicate situation, as we've been watching and we've been telling you about, because of the fact that we don't know if these people are still armed or not. We had heard that they had a gun at some point and maybe threw it out the window during the course of the pursuit. So, of course, the LAPD wants to approach this vehicle with all of, the options available to them. And if this doesn't work, they will call in SWAT. They will be called in and give them the orders if they don't cooperate, obviously, if that's the case. And then when SWAT arrives, they're going to make contact with the suspects, bring in their crisis negotiation officers, and behavior scientist, doctor, whatever, whoever they need to negotiate this and, bring it to a peaceful end. But right now, as we've been watching for the good part of 15 minutes at least, as we've been broadcasting here on KCAL 9 News at 4, this has been the scene, the end of a pursuit in Sun Valley that started in Pacoima, as Juan just talked about, and this constant gesturing between these two people. And I don't know what officers are doing. I don't know if they're yelling back at them. Desmond, have you seen anything like that?
No, we haven't seen that. It really just seems like the suspects here are egging on LAPD. I do believe they are recording right now everything that is going on from their perspective, and LAPD, I'm sure, is aware of that, and probably, just over the loudspeaker saying, come out of the vehicle, throw the keys out, probably just repeating themselves like a broken record, I'm sure. But it's almost like he's asking them to come and get him from the motions that we've been seeing. And now him kind of,
showing his hands
holding
there,
the palms of his hands out like this. And it's just very peculiar. And then especially with the female here kind of on top of him, and she's yelling out the window and motioning as well, sometimes holding the cell phone. So, pretty unique situation. A lot of times when we see two people in the car, the passenger is not involved in any way, or they may just sit there, or they may be the first to even surrender. But they really kind of seem to be a team here, and no interest at all in giving this up. And I'm just wondering if some point if LAPD is going to come closer with some shields, or like you were saying, Susie, if they're waiting for some units that may have some of those shields. But just to give you a lay of the land here, I don't see any canine units here so far. I would have to imagine that they've been called to the scene. They were wanting to get some spike strips set up in front of them, but I believe this is a one-way in, one-way out street, so there was no way for LAPD to get in front of them. But there was a lot of concern about them getting out of the vehicle and running into one of these homes. But obviously not the case so far. And let's remember as well, we heard that there was an alleged carjacking involved in this. That was that other vehicle right here where the door is now open. Maybe someone was sitting in there, perhaps they had their doors locked, and it was unsuccessful. And then it sounds like the suspects ran back into the car. LAPD was probably able to get that innocent person out and back behind the police line here. But it continues. I believe we've been more than 15 minutes watching this with the suspect saying who knows what to LAPD.
All right, Desmond, we're going to keep you above this situation there in Sun Valley. We're going to move on with other news. If anything should change, we're going to come right back to you. Thank you so much, Des.